Hello everyone, this is Maureen and welcome to my crochet story, where I share with you two things that I love, teaching and crochet. So welcome back to another episode of Moving On Up, where we take the basic stitches that we have learned from the Basic Stitch series, put them together to make new stitches and to work them into a new pattern. What I am sharing with you today is my very own Into the Thicket of Things beanie. Now this beanie is made with only single crochets for the ribbon and single crochet double crochets for the body of the hat, and then we'll use half double crochets to finish out the crown. I used a self-striping yarn from Red Heart Super Saver, but today I'll be using a solid color just because I want you to be able to see the stitches and how the beanie went together. It took approximately 260 yards of either an Aran or 4-weight acrylic, and I will be using my very trusty Bates hook. You know I'm a Bates girl, so that's what I'll be using. This is an I or a 5.5 millimeter. Now you're welcome to use any yarn and any hook that you desire. This is a very easy to customize beanie. As we get into it, I'll tell you that depending on the size of the beanie that you want will determine the number of rows that you want. The height of the beanie is also determined by who you're going to make it for. So I made this beanie to fit myself. I normally make beanies for myself to have a 20-inch circumference. So if you wish to adjust it one way or the other, I will have written, or I will explain to you in the instructions as we go along making the beanie, that for every 2 rows equals 1 inch. So that might help you to determine, about how many rows you're going to need to fit the circumference of the hat that you want to make. Also, every 4 chains or single crochets will equal 1 inch. Now again, that's using a 4-weight and using a 5.5 or size I hook. Let me see what else I need to tell you before we get started. Oh, I want to explain to you the stitches we'll be using. We'll be using a chain, which you should already know how to do, and a slip stitch. The single crochet, we'll be working the single crochet back loop only, which helps us to build our ribbing. The half double crochet, the double crochet, and the thicket stitch. Now, don't get a little apprehensive because we are introducing a new stitch, but let me tell you what the thicket stitch is made up of. A single crochet and a double crochet, both put into the same stitch. Now if you noticed up here a little earlier, I said the stitches we'll be using are single crochets, double crochets. We already know how to do that. We're just going to take those two, combine them together, and make a new stitch that's called the thicket stitch. Okay? So before you grab your yarn and before you grab your needle or your hook, why do I keep calling them needles? I don't know why I keep calling them needles, but I do. Grabbing your hook. I want to say thank you for all of you that are stopping by, whether you are subscribers to my channel already. You know that I appreciate so much your patronage and coming back and watching all the content that I put up. And if you're new subscribers, or if you're new to my channel, welcome in. I hope that you find something here today that you like, even if it's learning the name of a new stitch. So if you're new, please be sure to consider hitting the subscribe button, and hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss anything that I upload for you. So you're going to see my little intermission sign here, and that should give you enough time and myself to gather our yarn and our hook so that we can create the Into the Thicket of Things beanie. See you in a minute. So, before we get ready, if you would like a copy, you may email me at mycrochetstory.texas@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of this in a PDF format. Now, it is a free copy, but it is only available to those of you that are already subscribed to my channel. I think that's only fair to those of you that come back time after time to see what I have to offer you. So I won't be selling it, but it is free as long as you are a subscriber. Now, this is a copyrighted pattern, so all rights are reserved. You are not allowed to sell this pattern. You are not allowed to distribute or publish this pattern as your own in any form. And you're not allowed to alter the pattern in any form. Items may be made and sold by individuals with the understanding that I'm giving credit to my Crochet Story as its creator. And as always, for most of us, we always should put down that mass production of our patterns is prohibited. So if you would like a copy, drop me an email and I'll be happy to send it to you in a PDF format, and again, only to subscribers. Alright, so I'm going to be using this color. It's called Lilac. It is a Red Heart Super Saver yarn. It is 100% acrylic. This skein had approximately 744 yards to it. Obviously, I've used a little bit out of it, but I chose to go with a solid color as opposed to the color that I showed you on the written pattern, only because I felt like it would make it easier for you to see the stitches and how things were working together. So I am going to be using my Susan Bates eye hook, the 5.5. You can use whatever hook you want. The only thing is that you may have to adjust your stitch count if you go larger or smaller. But the pattern would be basically the same other than your stitch count. So to get started, I'm going to pull me out some yarn here. Yeah, just a moment. It's a little tight here in the middle. Looks like I'm getting ready to have a really big yarn barf. Okay, yes, it was a very big yarn barf, so I had to shut down for just a second and get that mess cleared out. But here we are, ready to go. So this hat is built around the Thicket stitch, which is it's a very simple stitch. It's just a single crochet and a double crochet put into the same stitch. The hat that you're going to be building with me today is built from the bottom to the top. Then we're going to turn around and come back down. So it's basically a horizontal beanie. And once we get it as wide as we want it to go around our head or whoever we're making it for, then we're going to put a seam, or we're going to seam it together, and then we will finish out the crown. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our yarn onto our hook. So however you do that, whichever way you're most comfortable. Remember, this is our tail. We'll take care of that in just a little bit. And this is our lead. So the first thing I need for you to do, if you're going to make a hat that is about 8 to 9 inches tall before we get to the crown, and I'm going to be doing a total of about 66 rows. That will make it big enough to fit around my head, which I normally tend to wear a cap that's between 20 and 21 inches. But the nice thing about this beanie is that You can adjust the number of chains and you can adjust the number of rows to fit whoever it is that you're going to be making the hat for. So there is no multiple. It's just however tall you want it and however many rows. So I'm going to today make a chain starting out of 35. So remember, a chain is just simply grabbing the yarn and pulling it through on your hook. And again, I'm going to stop just a moment to remind you to be consistent in your chains. It's very, very important. Remember, that sets up the rest of your project. Just keep going around through here. I'm going to stop for just a moment and see how many I have. I don't think I have 35 yet, but we'll see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. Now I'm going to pull this loop up just a moment. I'm going to count one more time. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now we're going to go back down the chain, and in the first 8 or 9 stitches, we're going to build what's called the brim of the hat. So in the second chain from the hook, remember this loop on our hook doesn't count as anything, it's just our working loop. So 1, 2 into the second chain from the hook, I'm going to, into the top loop here, put 1 single crochet, and that's what's going to get me started. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't curl up on me here. Leave that, should be 8. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I want one more to have as my brim. Now my brim is going to consist of, every time I go up or come down, of 9 single crochets. Now for the next, alright, I stopped and added a stitch marker here at the end of what's going to be the brim of our hat, so that I'll kind of know whenever I'm coming back and forth where that brim part is going to start. Now over the next 2 stitches, we are going to make the thicket stitch. The thicket stitch will go into 1 stitch, and then you're going to skip a stitch. Then it'll be the thicket stitch, skip a stitch. So let's do our first thicket stitch. Remember, I told you that the thicket stitch is comprised of 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet into the same chain or stitch. So we're going to skip the next one. We're going to do a single crochet and a double crochet. Remember, your double crochet is made by looping yarn over your hook, inserting it, pulling up 2 loops, and then we yarn over, drop 2, yarn over, drop 2. Skip the next stitch, thicket stitch. We're going to do a single crochet and the half double crochet, and that's what we're going to do for the next 23 stitches here. Single, oop, did I skip? Let me check to make sure I skipped a stitch. Nope, I didn't. Need to skip a chain into the next single crochet and double crochet. We will skip again, skip this stitch into the next, single crochet, and double crochet. And I'm just going to follow along here with you. Skip, single crochet, double crochet, 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 skip. And I'm going to stop just a minute because I'm going to tell you that in these last 3 stitches of our chain, we're going to do a half double crochet. And what that's going to do for us is that this is going to set up these 3 little stitches here at the end of each row, whenever we're up towards the crown area, is going to set up what we need to do for the crown. So it'll give it that nice little curve when we get ready to get up there, because I don't want it to just insert your hook, 3 loops, pull through all 3. Yes. Third one, whoops, gonna lose a loop there, and then the last one. All right, so we have our single crochets for our brim, then we have the body of the hat, which is the thicket stitches, and then we're going to have half double crochets to help the transition to the crown. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now this chain 1 that we just did does not count as anything. It just gives us our lift to start working on the next row. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 half double crochets. So we're going to go through both loops, work 1 half double crochet, the second half double crochet, third half double crochet, and the 4th half double crochet. There she is. Now coming back, we're going to work our thicket stitch in the top of every one of our single crochets. So we're going to start off with skipping the first stitch, and then we're going to do our thicket stitch into this single crochet. So skip your first double crochet and go right back into the single crochet and create the thicket. Skip the double crochet and work the thicket into the top of your single crochet. Skip the double crochet and do the thicket, which is a single and a double, into the single from the previous row. Skip, thicket stitch, single crochet, double crochet. Get me some more yarn here. Skip the next stitch, which is a double crochet, and we're working again into the single crochet. Skip into the next single crochet, another thicket stitch. Skip to the next single and a double. Going to skip to this next single, going to do another single and a double, skip, single and a double, skip, single, and double, skip, single, and a double, and now we are down to the brim portion of our hat. Now from this row forward, the second row, every time you get to the brim portion, which is these 9 single crochets that we began with, you're going to work in the back loop only of each single crochet in order to give it that nice little ribbing effect that we have on the brim, on the brim of our hat. So even though we've been skipping between each thicket stitch, we are not going to skip once we get down here for this brim. So I'm going to go in this very first single crochet, and I'm going to work into the back loop only and make a single crochet. Into the next one, back loop only, single crochet. What I'm calling the back loop is when you're looking at the top of your stitches here, I'm going into this loop that is the furthest away from me of the single crochet. Back loop, back loop, back loop, back loop, back loop. And when we get down to this very last single crochet, what I want you to do is I want you to go through both loops of the single crochet. To me, it just gives it a much cleaner, nicer looking bottom here to our brim. Now if you run your fingers along this ridge here, you'll see that we got part of a ribbing going on, and that's what I want. So again, we're going to chain 1 for our lift, and we're going to turn our work. Now I should be able to end up with 9, because about right in here is where I have my stitch marker marking, telling me that I'm going to be making the transition from the brim to the body of my hat. So that helps me in my counting. Now going back up again, this is going to be our first single crochet, and I want to go through both loops to give it that nice finished edge. I also find that by doing this for the bottom part of the brim, it gives it a little bit stronger edge as well, especially, you know, when we're putting our hats on our heads and it keeps stretching there. I don't like for it to end up having holy gaps, is what I call them. And so that's the reason why I go through both excuse me, loops of my single crochet that's at the end of my brim. Now for the next 8 stitches, we're going to do just like we did a moment ago. We're going to go into the back loop only of each of these single crochets and make a single crochet. So that on this side now, we're going to create a ridge. That makes my third one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. You will always have 9 single crochets for your brim. And again, can you see that little bit of ridge there that's developing? So now I have a ridge on this side of my brim, and now I have a ridge on this side of my brim. And that's what you're going to see alternating back and forth just when you're working on the brim part. All right, so now I'm ready to start my thicket stitch. Now notice on this row, when I start my thicket stitch, I'm beginning with a double crochet. I don't want to work in the double crochet. I'm always going to be working in the single crochet. So I'm going to skip this stitch, the double crochet, and work right into my first thicket, going right into that first double crochet. All right, so after I've completed my brim, I'm going to skip the double crochet, and I'm going to make my first thicket into the first single crochet of the body of my hat. Now, making thickets all the way up, remember we're only going to work into the single crochet of each of the thicket stitches from the row below. So skip the double, go into the single. and we'll make our single and double crochet. Skip, thicket stitch, which is the single and the double. Skip, another single and another double. Skip, another single and a double. Skip, another single and double. Skip, single and double. Sorry for the little noisy pop of my stitch marker there. Right, I'm getting ready to come up to the crown portion of my hat here, and you'll notice there's the double, and I want to put in a thicket stitch right here. Alright, I have my 4 half double crochets that I need to work for the transition up to the crown. I'm not going to skip any here. I'm going to go ahead and put in my half double crochet. There's 1, 2, 3, and there we go, 4. Chain 1, turn my work, and as you can see, coming off of the body of the hat here, there's my nice little transition area that I'm going to need when I get ready to work the crown. All right, so here we go down again, getting ready to work my 4th row. I had to count there a minute. All right, so we're going back with 4 half double crochets to start this next row. So there's 1, 2, 3, come on, 4. Now there's the double crochet from that last thicket stitch, and remember our thicket stitch gets worked into the single crochet of the stitch. So I'm going to skip the double and go right into that single there and start my first thicket stitch going back. Skip the double, go into the single. Skip, 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 and I can tell from my stitch marker down here that I'm getting close to the brim area. So there's my double crochet, so I'm going to make 1 more thicket stitch, and again now I'm ready to start my brim. Now if you're not real sure if that's the one you're supposed to start, count up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and remember we started out with 9 stitches, single crochets, to make for our brim. So I'm ready to go right in here, and I'm going to work again in the back loop of each one of these single crochets so I can create another ridge. So again, back loop, single crochet, back loop, and single crochet, back loop, single crochet, all the way down to the end. And I'm down to my last one, and again I'm going to go through both loops of that single crochet and finish off the bottom. And you can see how nice and tight that is. Alright, now we're getting ready to start row 5. Now from here on you're going to use rows 2 and 3 as your repeat pattern. 2 and 3, 2 and 3 for as wide, you know, because it's going to go around your head here, for as wide as you want, so that whenever we seam it together we have a nice circle. Alright, so I'm going to start again. 1 single crochet through both loops and back loop only, single crochet. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now just like we did on row 3, coming up we want to start a thicket stitch, but remember our thicket stitch never goes into the double crochet, it always goes into the single crochet. So going back up, thicket stitch, single and a double in the single, single and the double in the single, a single and a double in the single. Kind of has a little what would we call it, not a song, but single and a double in the single, single and a double in the single. Y'all want to know what's going on in my head? Let me tell you. Single and a double in the single. Boom, boom. Let me finish that out. Let's do it again. Single and a double in the single. Boom, boom. Single and a double in the single. Boom, boom. Single and a double in the single. Y'all find that silly? Sorry. Just kind of trying to pass the time, you know, as I'm going through this 2-row repeat with you one more time. Just thought maybe something silly there would be cute. All right, remember we're not going to put a thicket here, so I'm ready to put my half double crochet starting into this single here. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, whoop, 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 whoop. Nope, nope, nope. All right, now I'm coming along here. I should be able to put one more thicket here. And if I look, turn it this way, I only want 4 half doubles here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, there we go. Skip your double, go into the single. So single and a double. And now we're ready to do our half double crochets. There's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. And 4. Chain 1 and turn. All right, this is row 3 of our 2-row repeat. So we're going to start out with a half double in the first 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and come here, 4. Now I know it looks like you're working into that half double into that double crochet, but if you turn and look here, actually you're not, because here's the single and there's the double, which we're getting ready to skip so that we can work our thicket into the for a single going back. So here we go. Single and a double. Single and a double. Again, single and a double. Do that all the way down. Thicket stitch in each of your single crochets. Getting ready to come down to the brim of my hat here in just a moment. There's my last thicket stitch. And now I'm ready to do my 9 single crochets. That creates my brim. Now if you want to make sure you're in the right spot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I kind of line it up with where my stitch marker is here, so that way I always know that that's the correct one. And again, we're going to be working in the back loop only of our single crochet. Back loop, single crochet, back loop all the way down until we get to the last single crochet. All right, so we're getting ready to start. Go right in there, pick up both loops, chain 1, and turn. So from here on out, see this nice texture that's developing? I really love this thicket stitch, especially for hats. Now what you're going to do for me is I'm going to continue until I have about 64 to 66 rows. I'll have to measure it with my tape measure because I want it to be about 20 inches. Now depending on how big a circumference that you're working for your head will determine the number of rows that you want. But if you're working along with me, I'm going to say between 64 and 66. So when you get to 64, you might want to pop back in, see where I started with the seaming, and we can go from there. But your row repeat is row 2, 9 single crochets. We start in the very first single crochet with our thicket stitch, skip a stitch, thicket all the way down till you have about 22 stitches, or 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 thickets if you'd like to count it that way. And then into the last 4 stitches up here at the top, you're going to do half double crochets. Then you're going to turn your work for row 3. You're going to start out with 4 half double crochets, and you're going to skip the very next stitch, which is a double crochet, because remember the thicket stitch is always worked within the single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And into the after you've completed this thicket stitch, you should have 9 single crochets to finish out your brim. Then you'll turn around, repeat row 3 goes, repeat of row 2 goes up, repeat of row 3 comes down, repeat row 2 up, repeat row 3 down. All right? And I will be back with you in just a little bit after I have completed between 64 and 66 of these rows, depending on what my tape measure tells me. Back in a minute. All right, I'm about halfway through. Not quite, but almost there. I have 20 rows. I think 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 rows right now. And I wanted to take just a moment and measure out, see where I'm sitting. there is about 9 inches, so I'm just yeah, I'm getting there. That's 9. I'm just 1 inch shy, so it looks like I'll do 1, 2, 3 more rows and I'll be halfway there. Now, I do want to also interject the fact that I said 64 to 66 rows. Well, if Maureen had read all the way through her pattern like she is supposed to, she would see that when she designed this hat, she only went to 61 rows to get 20 inches. So I would say along around, say, row 50, 55, if you're making this the same size I am, that you stop and try to measure. Now, you don't have to have fancy measuring tape like this, just even a regular carpenter's tape or even a ruler. 12-inch ruler will be good for you to just stop, measure across the top here. Well, not the top, but really more like around about the middle, because whenever you measure the where you want it to fit on your head, you normally go right up above the ears, right where your head starts. The widest part of your head is about where you want to measure here. And I normally do about 60 rows for here to get the size that I need for my ribbing. So continue on if you're working right along with me, and I am going to go to row 61. Again, like I said, you might want to stop around row 55. If you don't have a measurer and you're building this for yourself, just wrap it around your head and see if you're satisfied with the way it fits. But I would do the wrapping right here. Don't worry about your ribbing. Okay, just make sure that this here is going to go around your head. All right, carry on. I'll see you when I get to row 61. All right, I am at about 57 rows instead of the 61. And I am at right here in the middle. I folded it so that you could see I could get most of it in the... So if you see right there, I'm right just a little bit over 10 inches, which that's going to be right at the biggest part, or the circular part of my head, and this still gives me a good 18 inches in the ribbing to go across my forehead, which is about what I want. So I'm good there. Now, I am ready to do my seaming, but the first thing that I want to do is I want to grab just a couple of stitch markers, and I'm going to mark this end and this end and right here where the ribbing is, so that I can make sure that my stitches are going to line up correctly. Now, by doing the beanie this way, we're going to have, nice stitches to go into. We're going to have stitches from each side matching up with each other. But just to make sure I don't get off anywhere, I'm going to, like I said, just add a few stitch markers in there and use them to keep myself straight. So let me get a couple of them here. These are my fancy ones. And come here, you. Sometimes they're a little hard to get off. All right. So first ones I'm going to do are these very first stitches here. And let's see. Yeah, right there and right there. I think I'm going to do instead, to save time, I'm just going to use some yarn here as my stitch markers, because I'm not going to fight that. Alright, so I'm going to come in here to my first stitch, and I'm going to pull me some yarn, just a little tag. It doesn't have to be anything big. And 1, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where I thought it was. And all the way up here. This is my last stitch here. And the last one there. Guess I could have used the tail end to do that there, couldn't I? Alrighty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to crochet 1 single crochet up to here, doing it just like a ribbing, and then I'm going to come in here, match up my single crochets, and put in one more thicket where they've been gone, the thicket stitch, and then when I get up to here, I will match my excuse me, half double crochets, and we'll have her ready to go. Alright, I've pulled up my loop, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go right back in there and make our first single crochet. Now, this loop here is from our very beginning chain, so we're going to go all the way through it, but I'm just going to pick up this inner loop. Whenever I'm looking at this edge here, here's the what would be the back loop, this is the front loop on this side, so I'm just going to pick up that loop there and make a single crochet with it. So I'm coming from this side and picking up that loop and making a single crochet. From this side, picking up that one loop on the other side and making a single crochet. Yarn's getting a little sticky there. Okay, and just continue until I get to the thicket stitch. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out because I am doing pretty good with matching up my correct stitches from one side to the other. And this should be the last single crochet on this side. Yep, because there is single crochet here, double crochet, there we go, matching up pretty good. Where did I catch? All right, right there. Now we're just going to look at, there's my double crochet, here's my single crochet, match it up with the single crochet over there. Come along and put a double crochet in there to make my thicket stitch. Double crochet, single crochet, single crochet, make my thicket stitch. Here's my double, here's my single, here's my double, there's my single. Now you might want to put in a few more stitch markers through this middle section here. I just find that if I go nice and slow, I will find every one that's supposed to match up. And if you look too, you'll find a lot of times your single crochets stand out a little bit more than the double crochets. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Matching up just right. My last thicket. And pull, whoops, pull that out. And I will get my last half double crochets here. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's the last one on this end and the last one on this end. Okay. Now I'm just going to pull this up a little bit so you can see it. Now this obviously puts a ribbing on the inside of your hat. What I want you to see on the outside is almost an invisible seam. Like I said, almost, not exactly, but okay. All right, now let's go back to the inside here. Let me see how many times I messed up my yarn. No, I didn't. Look at that. All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to, you know what, I don't like that right there. I think I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Instead of putting a thicket stitch there, I think after this one, I'm just going to come in. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is right in here, to not have that so thick, is I'm just going to come back in and match it up with some single crochets. I'll go back and adjust my pattern with that too. I bet that's what I meant to do in the original, and I just did not get back to it. That's a lot to put right there when you're transitioning from 2 stitches into a, yeah. Oh yeah, I like that a lot better, don't you? I think that seamed up much better. All right, so excuse me. At this point, now that we've looked at it, sorry, I don't need to talk with the needle in my mouth. What we're going to do is, let me find that tail. Yep, there he is. Okay, so I want you to turn this now back to right side out. I'm going to do that this way so I can make sure my yarn stays where I want it to. All right. And with the seam matching you up here at the top, now what we're going to do is we're going to, let me get over here and look at my pattern. Yes. At the top of each one of these rows here, all right, in this little space, or at the end of the rows, so to speak, or at the top of the row, we are going to put 1 half double crochet in each row up at the top all the way around. Now, yeah, let's just do that first, and then I'll discuss what we're going to do next. But what I do want you to do in the meantime also is you can either leave your tail here alone, or you can, and stitch it in, you know, with a needle later, or you can pick it up and let it ride along right here as you're adding those half double crochets. I'm going to let mine ride along. That way I don't have to go back and stitch it in. All right, so we're going to chain one. We're going to go right back into the top here of this stitch. Now you may have to wiggle a little bit to get your needle in there, or your hook in there. Let's see. I'm going to come off here to the side. I'm going to come right into this next row, and we'll catch that in a minute. Oh, half double, Maureen, half double. Remember, half double. All right. Yeah, we'll come back and pick that up in a minute. Now at the top of this next row, we're going to put in another half double. Top of this next row here, we're going to put in a half double. And as you're doing that, if you'll keep this thread, this tail here, right along the top there, you'll hide it as you're going, and you don't have to, you know, you don't have to go back and sew it in with your needle. That's Lacey over there playing. She's going to make some noise, and I apologize for that. And we're just going to go along the top here, putting one half double in the top of each row. Count my stitches. I am going to have a little bit more on the top than what I have for rows, but that's okay. This is 60, and I think, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and, no, I'm going to go right in there, 61, and then I'm going to hook up here at the top of my first half double crochet. Now, like I said, when you're going along through here and you're adding on top of the row, you're going to find that sometimes you might get 2 in the row, but folks, that doesn't matter, because we're just going to use a simple decrease pattern to go around the top to pull this in. All right. So we're going to chain one, and we're going to go right back into this starting to where we slip stitch, excuse me, and we're going to put in a half double crochet. We're going to add 3 more, so we're going to have 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do a decrease. Now when I do a half double crochet decrease, I do it a little bit differently than everybody else does. I want to end up with 3 loops on my hook before I pull them through. So what I'll do is I will go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. You'll notice I have 3 loops on my hook, and that's what we normally have whenever we do a half double crochet. And then I'll just go ahead and pull through the 3, and it looks like a half double crochet. Now I'm going to do 4 more half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to do my half double crochet decrease again, which means I'm just going to go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, and pull it through. 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, and then half double crochet decrease. Go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. Now that's your pattern all the way around on this first row of the crown. Now you may not end up with enough stitches here to finish out the repeat pattern of 4 and then a decrease. It's just going to depend on the number of stitches that you got around the top of your crown. It also is determined by the number of rows. So I'm going to meet you back here probably within about 6 stitches till the end and show you what I came up with, so that you don't get flustered or rip it out thinking that you did something wrong. Okay? So I'll see you back here in just a minute. Sorry, I had to stop just a moment to count my stitches. I am going to have a little bit more on the top than what I have for rows, but that's okay. This is 60, and I think, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and, no, I'm going to go right in there, 61, and then I'm going to hook up here at the top of my first half double crochet. Now, like I said, when you're going along through here and you're adding on top of the row, you're going to find that sometimes you might get 2 in the row, but folks, that doesn't matter because we're just going to use a simple decrease pattern to go around the top to pull this in. All right. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back into this starting to where we slip stitch, excuse me, and we're going to put in a half double crochet. We're going to add 3 more, so we're going to have 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do a decrease. Now, when I do a half double crochet decrease, I do it a little bit differently than everybody else does. I want to end up with 3 loops on my hook before I pull them through. So what I'll do is I will go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. You'll notice I have 3 loops on my hook, and that's what we normally have whenever we do a half double crochet. And then I'll just go ahead and pull through the 3, and it looks like a half double crochet. Now I'm going to do 4 more half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to do my half double crochet decrease again, which means I'm just going to go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, and pull it through. 4 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, and then half double crochet decrease. Go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. Now that's your pattern all the way around on this first row of the crown. Now you may not end up with enough stitches here to finish out the repeat pattern of 4 and then a decrease. It's just going to depend on the number of stitches that you got around the top of your crown. It also is determined by the number of rows. So I'm going to meet you back here probably within about 6 stitches till the end and show you what I came up with so that you don't get flustered or rip it out thinking that you did something wrong. Okay? So I'll see you back here in just a minute. Alright, I have just done my last 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm getting ready to do a decrease here. And I'm only going to have 2 stitches left, which that's okay. I'm just going to put in 2 half doubles, and then I'm going to slip stitch to join the round. Okay. Should see it. Oh, look, see, coming in, starting to come right in there. All right, now this next decrease pattern will be 3 half double crochets and a decrease, 3 half double crochets and a decrease. So yarn up, go right back into the joining stitch, excuse me. There's 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. One, 2, 3, and a decrease. And so you'll continue that all the way around. 3 half double crochets, 2 stitches together to make your decrease. I'll meet you back around within about 4 or 5 stitches. Alright, I'm coming back around. I just finished a decrease, so I'm going to do 3 more half double crochets. And another decrease. And as you notice, I'll just have 1 half double crochet, and then I will slip stitch into the top to finish out the round. You can see now it's starting to come in pretty good. Alright, so for this next round we're going to do 2 half double crochets and then a decrease. 2 half double crochets and a decrease, and that will be our repeat pattern. So going back into where we joined, 1, 2, and then the decrease. 1, 2, and then the decrease. One more time. 1, 2, and then the decrease. And I'll meet you back around within a few stitches before we join. Alright, I'm coming up again to the end. I just did a decrease. Sorry about that, guys. 1, 2, and a decrease. And I'll have 2 stitches here of just half double crochets. Now again, remember, the way yours is going to come out is not liable to be exactly like mine, because it's going to determine the number of rows that you had to make and then the number of half double crochets you did around the top after we joined the sides. Alright, decreasing one more time, and I bet you guessed it, we're going to do 1 half double crochet and then a decrease. 1 half double crochet and a decrease. So again, going back into where we joined, we'll put our first half double crochet there, and then we'll do our decrease. We'll do a half double crochet and our decrease. And I'll do it with you one more time. I apologize for Lacey whimpering. Her daddy just came in and realized that she had tore up one of her brand new toys, and so the toy is in timeout so that we can maybe fix it, as he said, do surgery on it. So I don't know, but Lacey can see where Wayne put it up in the top of the closet, and she is trying to figure out how she's going to get up there to get it. So I apologize for the noise. Alright, one more time. 1 half double crochet and then a decrease. And I'll meet you back around pretty quickly within just a couple of stitches of the end. Alright, I just finished my 1 half double crochet, and now I'm going to do a decrease. And it looks like I will get just 2 half double crochets here. And then we're going to join at the top of the round with a slip stitch. Alright, now you can see that we're getting pretty close here to the end. So this next round is just going to be half double crochet decreases. So we're going to go right up into the top of this joining stitch, and instead of doing the decrease here, I am going to go ahead and put 1 half double crochet. And then I'm going to do decreases all the way around. So join into one, go into the next one, and decrease. We'll go into one, pull up a loop, go into the next, and do a decrease. Give me some more yarn here. And again, another decrease. And I'm just going to stay with you because, as I said, we're just decreasing all the way around. And just keep moving around there. It gets smaller and smaller very quickly here. And we are back to the half double crochet that we did at the very beginning, so I'm going to slip stitch into there. It was a little hard to see, but I could see it. Alright, now at this point you have one of two choices. You can go ahead and cut yourself a nice long tail and go ahead and gather this around and tie it off and you're done. I like to finish out before I do that with one round of single crochet into each of the stitches that I have left. So that's what I'm going to do, but like I said, you have a choice. Now if you'd rather do the wait on me just a minute, then do so, but I'm going to go and put in, like I said, my one round of single crochets, and I'll show you why I do that in just a moment. Keep thinking I'm pulling out enough thread, and the next thing you know, you've used it all up. Alright, I'm back to the top here. And I'm going to go ahead and join up at the top, and I'm going to cut me off a length of yarn here. Then I'm just going to pull that through and just kind of pull it down. Alright, now this is what we have so far. Like how it pulls that in right there. Okay, now I normally turn my hat wrong side out and finish closing up the top on the inside. That's where we was hiding our tail, so I'm just going to go ahead and clip that off. Find my yarn here. I lost it when I turned it wrong side out. There it is. Okay, you're going to need a tapestry needle. There it is. Or any yarning needle that has a big eye on it so that you can thread your yarn through. Alright. Now, the reason why I like to put that one band of single crochets there is because I feel like it gives me a much stronger foundation in which to do my gathering. Because I'll go right here around each one of the posts of those single crochets and weave in and out. around each one of those posts. Come on, where you're not supposed to go there, you're supposed to go right there. And I should be coming right back around to where I started. Yeah, right there. And that allows me then to pull up a really nice little hole gather there. Now, you don't have to do that last round of single crochets like I said, but that's just the way I like to do it. Many folks will just stop when they've done their last round of gathering, or last round, excuse me, of decreases. So once I get my hole or top here closed up as much as I want, then I just start going back and picking up a couple of threads. Maybe I need to come back this way. There we go. And I'll loop it just enough to where I can tie it off. And I'll do that a couple of times. And I just pick up a few loops, folks. I don't go all the way through to where it's going to show on the front. I just want some loops here in the back. I'm going to do that one more time in a different spot. So I'm going to loop up over here. And let's see. Right through there. Now you can tie off however you choose to. That's just how I do it. All right. Turn this back around, see what we have. All right. Now, that's where my seam is. Right through there, I can see it. But in the grand scheme of things, blends in really pretty well. Now, if you'd like, you can put a beanie on the top. You can put a pom-pom on the top. I'm not a pom-pom girl. You can make your pom-pom out of your yarn. You can get a fuzzy pom-pom. I would say that if you choose to do this hat in a variegated pattern, me personally, I would not put a pom-pom on it, fuzzy or otherwise. I would leave it plain like it is. Now, many of you may think that this is just too plain to not have a pom-pom, but again, it's everybody's, preference. But I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. I love the texture of the hat. I love the little lining that it, definition that it gives, the transition from the ribbing here into the body, and then this little bit of half double crochet that we did along the top to get it up to the crown. And quite frankly, I think that by making it flat and then bringing it around and seaming it and finishing off the top, I just think it makes for a faster project. But that's just me. Again, I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. As always, be the light out there in the darkness for someone today, because you never know, it could be your light that they need to see. Love you all. Bye.